Hello, folks. This Hangout on Air is live. I hope you can hear me. We had some problems. I had to fix a setting. Somebody else was fooling with this computer and get some things to work over here. Oh, good. I can hear it myself on the playback. All right. So today is a wild card Saturday. Trying to go on 30 minutes ago. Tomorrow we plan to do wild card Sunday. We were going to do Stout Sunday, but one of our participants, Jeremy, was unable to access a stout. I don't know why, he just wasn't able to. I was going to bring one on. Nothing too elaborate, but we'll do that next week, I guess. We'll try, or the week after, or whatever. Wild card Saturday, so I have the 6% Steel Reserve 211. Now, anytime I show Steel Reserve 211, people say, ugh, that's too strong and harsh. No, this is the 6%. Okay. It's the mild version that was introduced in 2003. I thought I got a good price at Piggly Wiggly for $4.49, a 6-pack of plain cans, $4.49 plus tax. Go to Walmart earlier today. They've got it for $4.28, a 6-pack. I said, look at this here. Could have saved 23 cents. But that is what happened. So this is a Wild Card Wednesday with discussion of term limits. Bucky Denser, what's up? Just chilling, drinking the bud. Desert Drinker says, stouts are some of my favorite beers. Never had any Steel Reserve. It's a high gravity lager. Let me put the rest of the can up. I don't need these headphones on, I don't think, for now. Unless someone joins. I don't want it to get too warm. Put the rest in the fridge. It's still a little chilly outside. I mean, with the dampness and the wind, I thought it was supposed to get up to about 74 today, but I have a feeling it's not going to. It is springtime-ish here, even though not technically on the calendar. So it actually got cooler since earlier when I had the sweatshirt on. Got Southeastern Louisiana University baseball. Okay, so Stout Sunday. I mean, Wild Card Saturday. We might have some people joining. Jean-Pierre was saying he could join tomorrow. He thinks maybe can't today. He's got something to do. So we'll see if anybody hops on. I'll put the link on Beer Talk and on the International Beer Review Guild. I'm going to put a link on the Beer Coalition chat. Let's see. Go back to Book of Faces. Corey Seaton says, Steel Reserve is surprisingly good when I finally tried it. Yeah, I think people should give it a chance. Did you have the 6% or the 8%? Okay, so let's go to Beer Talk. Jeremy says, dang it, boys, got a basketball game at 10. That's understandable, so won't be able to make it. We'll be able to make tomorrow, though, if it happens. I'm going to say, well, that's understandable. Let's give a link to the Beer Coalition chat. I did not found the Beer Coalition chat. Although I administer it now. DJ Mexicano de Tejas says, awesome. Steel Reserve got a 42 ounce in the refrigerator for tonight. Is that, are y'all talking about the 6 or the 8.1? Desert Drinker says, speaking of Louisiana, crawfish season is coming up, right? Well, it's already here. I mean, they're selling crawfish. People are boiling them. It really is it's here. February, it's here. It's here. Okay. I saw them selling boiled crawfish at the grocery store yesterday. Nice lacing. Uh, Whitehead. I don't know why that motion light keeps coming off now. I guess it's because it's sensitive to darkness or something, and it's kind of like dreary out here, so it's the electric eye is coming off and on. It's malty, it's sweet, it's made with rice corn. I mean corn syrup, barley malt. Maybe we'll look at the ingredients later. We're talking about term limits. I had the 6% one. Oh, you had the 6%. Okay. I'm gonna go tell them something. I'm gonna tell them about that light. All right, never mind. That's just some fault in it. It's gonna do that sensitive to light, right? Like the deep purple rainbow. Excuse me, just sensitive to light. All right. So term limits. I check a lot of these people on Facebook, and they posting stuff all day long about politics, trying to convince people. Of course, conservatives usually only convince other conservatives, liberals other liberals. You know, that works. But okay, I'll get off of Facebook. But one thing I noticed in the last few days, and it got me thinking because I wanted to do this topic earlier. They were talking about, and look, anybody can join. Okay, so if you want to join this, I'm in Louisiana, but you can join. One thing they kept that a topic that kept popping up was term limits, and a lot of these conservatives say we need term limits. We need term limits. I say no. I don't support term limits, and I haven't supported term limits for decades, and I think that's a trap, and it's a bad idea. Oh yeah, real nice and sweet and mellow. Do not believe that. Please, I don't want you to believe that term limits will solve problems with bad government, career politicians, bad politicians, people passing laws that you don't like or not passing laws that you want. Okay. Why do I oppose term limits? Term limits are bad because the same people that say we should have democracy and the people's voice should be heard want to limit the voice of the people with term limits. You say, well, this city councilman should be limited to 2 terms because he might be a rat or she's a rat. We need some fresh blood. Well, why do you think the rat was elected? Apparently the people wanted the rat, right? So you limit, and they might have a certain political ideology or maybe ignorance, or they're just bad, perhaps. Okay. If rats keep, so you get rid of 1 rat after 8 years, 2 terms. If the mindset of the electorate is bad, what are you going to do? You're going to simply bring in another rat or a bad politician. Now, here's the trap. What if you get a politician in office who's very good? City councilwoman, state legislator, House or Senate, U.S. congressman, U.S. senator, president of the United States. What if they're a very good person? Now you've limited them to 2 terms, and they got to give up. But they're doing a great job. This goes back to Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States, 1933 to 1945. Personally, I would not have voted for Roosevelt with my political ideology. But let's say the people wanted him. He got elected 1932, 1936, 1940, 1944. He only didn't get reelected again because he died. Now, people say, oh, he was too powerful. He was too powerful. He lost power as he remained president. After 1938, 37, 38, he wasn't as powerful as he had been the first 4 years because of some political missteps and losing popularity. So you have to remember that in the United States, the U.S. Congress has more power than the president by design to protect the people from a dictator. So Bill Clinton probably would have been elected to a third term. We don't know. Do I like a lot of the people in office these days? No, I do not. But I don't think people can run around talking about power to the people. We need more democracy. Hey, Mellow Martian says, hey, Ron, hey to you. We can't claim that we want more democracy. Not to say I'm in favor of unlimited democracy. I'm not a socialist, leftist, or anything like that, or a progressive, as people may well know. But you can't say more power to the people by limiting the voice of the people. Another problem with term limits is it creates a very bad lame duck session. A guy or a gal, a man or a woman who's got a re-election hanging over their head is going to be more responsive to the people. But if you can only be elected twice, say to the presidency, once you've gotten re-elected, now you're a lame duck for 4 years. 4 years, you're a lame duck. Now you don't have to answer to anybody. You may not get anything done, but you could be very destructive, and you could just betray all your constituents by not following the ideology you claim to promote. But by having, and these guys love being in office, right? So by having that re-election hanging over their heads, you might make them more responsive to what you want. So every time I see some of my conservative friends on Facebook, and usually they're more like neo-conservative than conservative, they're actually liberal in a lot of ways, but they don't know it. You understand? They think they're conservative. And I try to school them and say, you know, really, I try to be soft with them, you know, gentle with them, and say, well, not tell them, well, you see, that's really kind of a liberal position. And then I try to explain why. And they'll usually be cool about it, because actually the ones who are hostile and wound up and high strung, I'm not friends with them on Facebook anymore because they unfriended me. You understand that people like that, that they're very flinty, defensive, hostile, volatile. Volatile is a good word. And they'll tolerate any opinion which is in accord with their viewpoint. So you might try to tell the hostile, volatile people, you say, well, you know, that's actually not in line with what you're claiming ideologically. And then they'll say, I'm unfriending you. We could do that. You can do that if you want, but it doesn't back up your position. I had that problem with a famous example is Chad Pollins. He used to do Chad's beer reviews. He pretty much is defunct on the channel. And I said, let's make friends on Facebook. He reluctantly did it, I guess. But he was like all day long making political things, political, which is fine with me because that's one of my hobbies, you know, reading and talking about that. So in 2012, yes, 2012, he was very gung-ho for Gary Johnson, libertarian candidate. This is the man, this is the guy, you know. So I tried to point out to him, and if he thinks I'm wrong, and I'm not wrong, by the way, he could come on here right now live and counterpoint what I'm saying, but I know I'm telling the truth. And I'm not saying that to tear him down or to attack him. I'm saying that this is an example, and so it's an actual factual example. I said, well, there's some problems with Gary Johnson, and I pointed out very specifically, here's the problems with Gary Johnson, and I talked about foreign policy and some statements that he made on his platform that were not in line with libertarian philosophical ideology, libertarian ideology. And he said, no, you're wrong. I said, no, I'm right. I said, because the libertarian ideology is non-intervention in foreign affairs. But there, right there on his own website, he contradicts that by saying the U.S. should help this particular country if they're attacked or whatever. This one country in particular, but he didn't include any other country on earth, which made me suspicious right there. I said, why would you, and there was no reason to put this on his website, why would you put this on your website and single out this one particular country located on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea that the U.S. had some kind of unusual obligation to defend? but you didn't mention any other. And I said that's not in comportment with his claimed ideology. And his response was, "I'm done." And he unfriended me. I said, "Well, you could be done, but that does not back up Gary Johnson's weak policy position. See, that's not a good argument for your candidate. If you're going to argue for a candidate, you have to be able to back it up and take the heat, not run and hide. So if you want to argue, come on here and argue for term limits. I'm a strong proponent of term limits. Okay, come on here and make your point. If your strategy is to say, I'm going to unfriend and block people who don't agree with me, that is not a strong defense of your position. In fact, it's a weak defense of your position. And I don't know why you are posting things 25 hours a day. And what have I said before? You got these fire starters on Facebook or social media, fire starters. You know what I'm saying? But they can't take heat. And I tell them, why are you starting fires when you cannot take the heat? Okay, Bucky Dent says, neocons aren't really liberal, in my opinion. They're just crazy imperialists. Now, I can prove that they're liberal. Classic conservatives are much more logical. I'm leftist, he says, but I'd debate a classic conservative over a neocon or libertarian. If you study the history of neoconservatism, it has roots in Trotskyite theology. You may as well say theology, right? Because communism tends to be our religion. Neoconservatism is a very insidious background. And it goes back to the Soviet Union and the showdown between Trotsky and Stalin. But most neoconservatives don't even know their own ideology. They don't know history. So it's very difficult to discuss. And they're volatile. They tend to be volatile. And yes, you're right. Imperialists, there's no doubt about that. Troublemakers, warmongers, all of these things. Desert drinkers, I think there's a sort of an infatuation. I think there's sort of an infatuation with association in politics. People love to be associated with Democrats or Republicans. No conservative would ever accept that one of their beliefs is slightly liberal or left. Not a socialist, more left than liberal, says Bucky now. Yeah, there's no doubt about what you're saying, Desert Drinker. These people are hung up on labeling. Labeling is important if you know what the label is, but they get hung up on party politics. Democrat, Republican. And I don't really like to use those terms. I tell them you should use terms like conservative or liberal and be specific in what those terms mean. All right, so but let's stick with the main point. We do not, I'm saying me, the paleo conservatives, the old time conservatives, and this is generally true. We do not support term limits. And plus we tend to be anti-imperialist. And we oppose, let me get some more beer. We oppose intervention in foreign affairs. Great wording, hung up on labeling. Folks love the labels, says Desert Drinkers. Yes. I'll give you a perfect example, or a good example. I don't know if it's perfect. So, and then we'll go into the Steel Reserve, since it is Wildcard Saturday with one participant, myself. Tomorrow will be more people. I'm glad I got the camera and mic working. I was very worried about it. It wasn't looking too promising, but I could see the settings were not right. I'm anti-imperial IPAs. Now, I like IPAs, and in fact, I bought a double IPA today at Rouse's for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to have to be 30 minutes max, though. With college baseball going on, it has to take precedence, especially since I bought season tickets. All right. People will ask me, are you going to the game? When they know I'm going to a game, and I'm like, why do you think I bought the season tickets? To not go? Although some people I know do that. I have a friend in New Orleans. He buys season tickets to Tulane football, basketball, baseball. It's like, you going to the game? Nah. It's like, he never goes. It's like, why do you buy the tickets? You never go to the game. I guess just to support the team or something. He goes to, 10% of it. John Anelia says, good morning, Ron. Just stopping in to say hello. Hello to you, John Anelia, on your fabulous trip. I hope it's nice up there. The weather here is crummy. There's a chill in the air, although I am wearing short sleeves with no undershirt. It's dreary, cloudy, misty, damp, and horrible. I told my father today, I said, we're riding in a truck. I said, Louisiana weather is terrible. I said, it's like England, but without the terrible cold, but it's always cloudy, damp, raining. If you don't like cloudy, damp, rainy weather, and I don't, you would hate Louisiana weather. I always tell people Louisiana's too cold for me. Now I'm serious about that. It's the stinking humidity. I've been to 48 states, never been to Alaska and Hawaii, so I can't testify to those two. But I've been to 48 states, and I've never been to any place as humid as southeastern Louisiana. Only one place came close. One place, and that's Washington, D.C. You go there in June and July, you'll get some still air there, boy. It's in that basin, surrounded by hills, sort of like on at least the northwest and southwest side. And there, it just gets no airflow, and it just gets miserably hot. And in your mind, you think, well, everything's close in DC. You can just park, which you can park for free. I'll give you that secret offline. I don't want to let the cat out the bag and then ruin my parking opportunities. But by looking at a map, everything's close to walk around to. But in reality, it's not that close. You got to walk. I mean, just the mall. It's a lot of walking. And you'll get worn out and sweaty. Nice little Chinatown, though. Good food, too. All right, anyway. So we don't support the term limits, but I was talking to these guys on one of their Facebook groups. They're mostly neoconservative, I think. They seem to have a good nature, but they were arguing about foreign aid for a certain country in the Eastern Mediterranean. And they were saying, one side was saying, they were like leftists that joined the group. No, we should not support this apartheid country, blah, 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 with foreign aid. And then they were saying, yes, we should. They're democratic. They're our greatest ally. And even if we didn't, you wouldn't understand because of the other thing. And so I was like, well, so they're arguing back and forth, should they support this country with foreign aid or not? And my position as a paleoconservative, right? So I have an advantage over them because I have more insight. So I said, why are we supporting any country with foreign aid? See, I blew the whole thing up. I said, my argument is, why are we supporting any country, regardless of their merits or demerits? They didn't know what to say about that because they never think along those lines. They always argue with inside of these parameters. So they're thinking, woo, right. Okay. So I invite anybody to challenge me on term limits, and I think I can win that argument. Not in a hostile, volatile way, just in a common sense way. So if Trump wanted to run for re-election in 2020, 2024, 2028, would I support it? Well, I mean, eventually he'll be so old, he wouldn't be capable of being president because of age, I would assume. But I mean, that would apply to anyone. If it was some big liberal socialist who I couldn't stand, like Barack Obama, for instance, Barack Hussein Obama, I would criticize him more. There's probably no one on earth who criticized him more than myself. But I wouldn't have supported term limits. He should have been able to run for a third term. I would have supported that. I wouldn't have voted for the guy, although he did have a good taste in beer. But I wouldn't have supported him, but he should have had the right to run for a third term. Maybe I'm liberal and don't know. Well, actually, paleoconservative, in many ways, is the old traditional classical liberal, not the modern liberal. The classic liberal said, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. The modern liberal says, I don't agree with what you say, and I'll fight to your death to prevent you from saying it. But they're not really liberal. They're more like Marxists, Leninists, or Maoists, chairman Maoists, but they don't realize it. They think they're fighting for the right thing, But then they use all this like communist terminology. I said, oh, That's the kind of talk I used to hear in 1975 when they would have news reports about the great proletarian cultural revolution. These people use that. You ever notice those modern leftists? They use that stilted speech, like they're reading out of some like Socialist Workers Party manual. I'm like, you don't even realize, and some of them realize because some of them are hardcore cadres, but many of them don't even realize what they're talking about. Obama's definitely not a socialist. Was just a corporate Democrat. Okay, I'll go along with that to the extent that you have to understand that sometimes international finance capitalism and international socialism are two legs of the same beast. You have to understand this. The fat cat wearing the top hat is often more closely affiliated to the whiskered, smelly Molotov cocktail throwing radical than you may first believe. Never get confused that please don't get confused. Understand that the international finance capitalists oftentimes is a socialist revolutionary. And if you think about that long enough, you may understand why, because it's the same goal. Say, you mean power without limit, based solely on the use of force, and the idea to build the tower to heaven. Yes. Bucky says, whoa, no need to hate on us leftists. Leftists aren't all screaming social justice warriors. I respect your views on beer and politics. I'm not hating on leftists. I'm ideologically opposed to the leftists, the left-hand path, the sinister path. I don't hate the people personally. I say obviously you don't want your side to lose. You want your side to win, right? If I go to a baseball game today, I'm not going to say, oh, well, Louisiana Tech is playing our team, so I'm going to show. I mean, I respect Louisiana Tech. They won last night. I hope they do well. I wish them the best in their 2019 baseball season, especially since their interests don't conflict with my interests. But no, what I'm saying is I'm not going to root them on. I don't want them to win over my team. I don't want the left-wing view to win over my right-wing view. Doesn't mean I hate them. Lawrence Hartnett said, I voted for Trump. I believe he's still the right man for the job. I tend to believe that. People say, well, he's loud. He's obnoxious. He's eccentric. Sometimes the loud, obnoxious, eccentric people can get things done. But I'm not calling your side sinister. It's just different from mine. No, but that's a play on words. The sinister, the left-hand side. There's more meaning. There's a more embedded. I'm making some oblique references to certain things. Oblique, you know, I'm making implicit, not necessarily explicit statements. What are you drinking? Steel Reserve 211. Let's look up still. So that's it. I'm going to end there saying I'm promoting an opposition to term limits. Now, if you want to argue for term limits, come on here and argue. I mean, I'm giving you an open invitation. That's what people can tell me I don't agree with you, which is fine. But you can't tell me I didn't give you an opportunity to state your position. Politics will always divide people. Yes, because people will not always agree on everything. If people all agreed on everything, then I guess we'd all be in agreement, right? But what are the chances of that happening? but I don't get angry about it. I'm not angry now. I wasn't angry before. I wasn't angry ever. Some people get very angry about politics. I have a disadvantage in a way that I don't get angry. So I will sit there and just be hammering away, hammering away like bam, 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 bam. Here's my point. And then somebody will say, I'm not your friend. Well, I didn't insult you or say anything ugly to you or your family. I say I was hammering away at my political positions. But people are very sensitive and strange. You see, very sensitive and strange. And what can I do? I can't compensate for that. We have Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. He's been in office too long. Yes, we need term limits. No, I totally disagree. I'm not a huge Mitch McConnell fan, but I wouldn't support term limits. No. If the people want Mitch McConnell, then they should have Mitch McConnell. The people should get what they want. And if what they want is inferior, then they should get inferiority. Goes down smooth. Actually, you have term limits. You have term limits without a term limit law. Why? Because you can vote the people out of office. You can vote them out of office. You do not have to reelect them. You actually have term limits without a term limit law. There's not anything a person could say on this hangout or any future hangout in the history of the world that would make me support term limits. That's an impossibility. It cannot happen. But you can try to convince me, but I will not support it. But that's just one topic, political topic. We could talk about war. We could talk about income tax. We could talk about how senators are elected to the U.S. Congress. I've never considered the anti-term limits debate, but you're making some great points. Thank you. I think I am making some great points. Did I come up with these points on my own? No, I did not. Other groups have promoted these ideas. I'll give credit to the John Birch Society. I'm not a member anymore. I was for a while, but I quit. And I told them, I'm quitting because you're like a cult. They said, what do you mean? I said, you're like a cult. You try to control what people think. But that being said, they did have a very good point about term limits. And I agree with that. And they did very good research. I went to their headquarters in Appleton, Wisconsin once, and their library is incredible. So their level of research is astounding. Not maybe to the level of like another cult-like right-wing group like Lyndon LaRouche. Although Lyndon LaRouche and his organization, Executive Intelligence, what was it? Executive Intelligence. It's like a newspaper they put out. Their research was beyond what you would ever see on a normal conservative, neoconservative, liberal, leftist website. Executive Intelligence Examiner, I think it was called. These were guys that were talking about the October surprise in like 1981. Their research on Jim Jones and the People's Temple was astounding. Now, they had some strange personality cult ways about them, much like the JBS. But I can kind of filter through all of that and just get to the research. So yeah, the JBS had some very good points about term limits, and I was thinking to myself, good idea, good idea. So I'll go with that. Although I don't have to follow your messianic cult-like promotions. And I didn't care if they were mad if I quit anyway. I said, I quit, so I'm out. Bye. They were upset, why did he quit? He was an up-and-comer. He was a team recruiter. He was being tapped, yeah, to steal a term. He was being tapped to be tap somebody else. I helped run a summer camp in Texas. Oh yeah, but they're training all their cadres, but I just had no faith in that. I said, this is going nowhere quick. And they've been around for 50 years, and like my grandma said, they've accomplished nothing. I said, right. All right. Look at Illinois, a Democratic cesspool. Folks vote in Democrat. Oh yeah, well, that's Illinois. That's Illinois' problem. If they want to live in a sewer pipe And you mean liberal. See, I don't like to use those terms, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. I'm a Democrat. Me. Look at me right here in Louisiana. Look at my voter ID card. It says D, Democrat. Democrat. You're listening to a Democrat, a registered Democrat. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean a lot. Because ideologically, I'm more in line with Grover Cleveland in 1892. That's the last Democrat I would have supported as president. Grover Cleveland, 1892 election. I wouldn't have supported Woodrow Wilson by any stretch of the imagination. Or Roosevelt, or Truman, or Kennedy, or Johnson, or Carter, or Clinton, or Obama. So Lawrence says Bucky Dent was a good baseball player for the Yanks and White Sox. I'm a White Sox fan as far as that goes. I have a Chicago White Sox MasterCard card. I've been to see the White Sox about 11 times, I think. But I've lost interest in them because of WGN dropping their sports programming for WGN America. I still follow them, of course. TBS, WGN dropped their sports programming. I don't get that. It's insanity. Bucky Dent says, nice. What was Grover Cleveland's political ideology? Says Neil Sullivan, drinking ice out. Cheers. Oh, well, there's Federal Express, FedEx. Grover Cleveland was the original Democrat ideology, like your Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, James K. Polk, Franklin Pierce type situation. Well, what they wanted was very limited government. Their idea was that the government should do only what's enumerated in the Constitution and nothing more. The state should have the power. The U.S. government should only carry out the powers delegated to it. They didn't support the corporate welfare and warfare state. So, like, let's look at Grover Cleveland. Foreign affairs. He believed in no foreign aid, no foreign intervention, no imperialism. He believed in the gold standard. We should have money based on commodity, meaning gold and silver, but gold mainly. He believed that states should control their internal affairs completely, right? The Democrats of those days were opposed to the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, and all of these other innovations. They did not believe in federal power. They did not believe in a powerful federal government. They believed in a federal system, a devolution, the states having power to restrain the U.S. government from becoming the empire that it is today, which was mainly built by the Republican Party, which was the Liberal Party in 1861. So what's that behind you? That's a garden and a house and a Ford truck. Is that a Ford truck? Yes. Yes, that's a Ford truck. Okay. And oh, that's like a little storage area for potted plants. And potted plant supplies like fertilizer and soil. Neil Sullivan says, sounds like what we'd call a libertarian today. Yes, that's correct. I'd side with a lot of that, but truthfully, I don't know what's best. A greenhouse. Yeah, a greenhouse that's not being used as a greenhouse, but only as a storage area. So, yes, Grover Cleveland would be considered a libertarian today, except that most libertarians today don't understand federalism. And Grover Cleveland did understand federalism. Like the libertarians, I'll give you a good example, then I'm going to cut this off. Libertarians were saying, yay, yay, the Supreme Court supported gay marriage because the government should not tell people who should get married, man. Now, Grover Cleveland, being much more intelligent than your street-level libertarian ignoramus, would have said, no, you're giving power to the federal government to dictate internal affairs of states. Okay? A true libertarian would never support the Supreme Court using the 14th Amendment to tell states how to arrange their internal marriage, abortion, birth control, school district policies, or any of those things. You see, a true libertarian along the lines of a Grover Cleveland would have said, it should be the purview of the state only, let's say Louisiana or Mississippi, to decide how school districts are arranged, composed, configured, how congressional election districts are arranged, how voting regulations are arranged within the state, the control of private property within a state should be left up to the state government. Reproductive rights, as our left-wing adversary likes to use the term, marriage, birth control, anything you can think of, just name it. You name it and I'll claim it. You got me? You name it, I'll claim it. That was what a true libertarian would say. But you see, today we have the Marxist-Leninist libertarians. They say they're standing up for freedom and justice, but if you look, if you pull the sheet over off of their body, then you see a hammer and sickle underneath, and you say, ooh, that's a hammer and sickle. Yeah, right. Yeah, but if states are not giving people their rights, so-called gay marriage, then the Fed should absolutely step in. You see, that's an imperialistic viewpoint. That's a viewpoint of imperialism, that we must regulate the world. We must make sure the world has freedom. We must use force to enforce freedom around the world. That's a Marxist-Leninist position. And that's an understanding of, that's a faulty interpretation of federalism. No, federalism says each state controls their internal affairs. We have freedom of movement in the United States. We have 50 states, so the left-wing people could move to left-wing states. A Greyhound ticket is very cheap. And the right-wing states could be right-wing. So no. We would never support the federal government imposing marriage laws upon a state. And in fact, we've always advocated that a state would actively resist these impositions. But of course, in 1865, the U.S. government used catastrophic force against the states when they tried to control their internal affairs. That's how empires work, you see. So that's what we're trying to say. No, we don't support the so-called gay marriage upon the states. Louisiana does not recognize it. Yes, we're forced by the empire. We are forced by that DC empire to, on paper, recognize it. But theologically, ideologically, we don't support these impositions of the empire. But we're very confident. We're very confident because we know the empire will be destroyed. We know the empire will fall. We know the empire will fail. Star Wars, the movie is about a destruction of an evil empire. So we're not sitting around moping, crying, whining like the neoconservatives do on Facebook all day long. We're very confident. We're very confident because we know that these evil empires will be destroyed. And we can see it crumbling as we speak. So Bucky Dent says, not the world, my country. I don't. No. It's not a unitary republic. The United States was not designed to be a unitary republic. The United States was conceived as a federal republic, a federation, a union of states. It is not a union of states anymore. We agree. It's an empire, a very evil empire. But it was designed to be a union of free states, not an empire imposed by the use of force. Remember, there was a president from Illinois who used force against the states that did not comply with his will. He did face a very serious retribution from that imposition of force by certain freelance activists, so to speak. Okay, have you done ancestry DNA? No, I have not. Let's see, millicores, Steel Reserve, here we go. What are they showing? Steel Reserve spiked. I don't want to look at this stuff. I don't want to look at their flavored beverages, you ragamuffin. I want to look at, okay, let's go to nutrition and codes, because I can't entertain all this business. Nutritional information. Thank you. Let's bring up the PDF file. Steel Reserve. Oh, here we go. 6%. American style specialty lager, 6%. 164 calories. Okay, so not a diet product. If you're looking to lose weight, I wouldn't go to Steel Reserve. Ingredients: water, barley malt, corn syrup, dextrose, and maltose. Ah, they've updated their PDF file as of this is very interesting. February 4th. Ah, the day after the Super Bowl. Now let that sink in. Let that sink in, people. Let this sink in, people. Somebody was working all night. Somebody was working an all-nighter. Fascinating. Great, 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 great. Oh, man. Look at this. Water, barley malt, corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, hyphen, not high fructose corn syrup, yeast and hop extract. Well, where do you think that? Look, all of them say that qualification, not high fructose. Where is that being aimed? You know, that's being aimed directly at the house of Anheuser-Busch InBev. Great, because Anheuser-Busch InBev made the infamous Bud Light corn syrup commercial. But as it turns out, they're the company using high fructose corn syrup, the insidious type of corn syrup. Not Miller Coors, who they attacked. Anheuser-Busch InBev was using the insidious high fructose corn syrup. Fascinating. You stepped into it, AB InBev, and now you got to live with it. Insanity, madness, stupidity, of unrestrained stupidity. I loved it. When I watched that commercial, I thought to myself, they've had it now, boy. Lawrence Hartnett says nutritional information on beer is an oxymoron. How do you say that? Why would you say that? Beer is very good for you. I think it's a very good thing. I always feel better when I drink beer. Beer is healthy for me. Neil Sullivan says, I just got my 23andMe DNA results back. Very interesting stuff. I found out I'm related to an Irish king. Also found out my grandmother's father, who she didn't know. Okay. I found out my great-grandmother was Russian, so I'm Russian too. Call it a conspiracy. I'm Russian and I voted for Trump. Makes sense. If I was a Russian, I'd vote for Trump. Would you rather vote for somebody who's trying to make peace with you, like Trump? Or would you rather vote for someone who's trying to kill you, like Hillary Clinton? Seems to me I'd vote for somebody who was trying to be my friend, but, you know, I'm weird like that. But then you say, you're just one of those peace nicks, you hippie, you peacemonger. I am a peacemonger. I admit it. Okay, I admit it. I'm always over here promoting peace, love, free trade, amity. I'm fighting the empire. I love America. I love America. I want to see the empire destroyed. That's a different thing from America. Steve from Philly says, Roni. I think he means Ronnie. Neil Sullivan says, Ron, I got to say I'm glad I found your videos when I first got into beer. I wasn't swallowed by the craft beer snobs. Laugh out loud. Well, let them be snobs. Let them eat haze. Let them eat cake batter. All right. Let them eat cake batter. All right. Well, anyway, enough of that. So what have we established? Well, we've established that Steel Reserve 211 is pretty darn good. Secondly, we've established that I have incontrovertibly opposed term limits, and that you will never see me at any point in the history of the world in the future support term limits. Even if somebody put a gun to my head, I'd still be winking like, you know, what would I be winking to you, like code, like forced. Steve from Philly says, are you drunk yet? Off of a pint can of Steel Reserve 6%? I better give up beer for the rest of my life. That's the case. Secondly, we've determined that I oppose imperialism, whether it's domestic imperialism from the United States that DC Empire, the Rome upon the Potomac, Rome on the, actually the Roman Empire was probably more federalist than this outfit today, right? And I oppose, or I should say we oppose, we the right one, we oppose interference in foreign affairs and all of that, exporting U.S. power around the world and domination and all that. We don't support the United States dominating Mississippi decades, a century and a half ago, and we don't support the United States dominating Iraq. And we don't support the United States invading Alabama in 1864, and we don't support the United States invading Syria in 2011 under Obama, by the way. Lawrence says, I oppose bad beer. I oppose bad beer too. I don't drink bad beer unless I find myself buying some bad beer. But I still don't like it. I'll drink it, but I don't like it. I like Steel Reserve because it's good beer. All right, thanks. Blah, blah, blah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more, say no more. And that's the end of this. Tomorrow we're going to have a whole gang of people. A whole gang of people. I'm glad I got this video to work. I was pretty concerned about it. Neil Sullivan said, I'm not sure I've had a bad beer. You never had Camo. Drink Camo or Accent, then you'll have had bad beer. Steve from Silly. Steve from Silly, right? Steve from Philly says, I love beer. Hooray, beer.